We've been ready.
Of course it's like that.
I used to say that.
Cool. So, right. So, one, on the floor, she concedes that hip hop's interests are political, but she says, Jessica says that I don't access the poetics of resistance, even though she says resistance can be poetry, music, metaphors. We access all those through the use of our rap narratives that are coming out of the top of the flow of the 1AC. And if we interrupt the political and change it from the inside, which is the debate community, which you claim was a starting point for any change, then we access everything we're talking about, because we interrupt the political in a way where we're opening up the space and allowing it to become more common. Because when we access different forms of discourse, which would be hip hop, we access different forms of education and intelligence, which is exactly what they're speaking about. Crosswise, the Christopher Emdin 2010 evidence, it says, while other educators and researchers may have identified the importance of the focus on student culture, they have not recognized the significance of hip hop culture. While they focus on hip hop as music and text, they generally have not considered it undergirds the existence of urban youth in more complex ways. In addition, they have not considered the ways in which hip hop specifically relates to science, which is something that urban students are most marginalized from. Plus, by that, also the full speaks about how hip hop is key to understanding these same sciences they speak about. To understand all this exploration, and that's like we should be able to incorporate hip hop into this space. Like, we're trying to make it more inclusive than exclusive. We're not saying that their advocacy is bad, and we're not saying that we shouldn't be worried about feminist rights. What we're saying is that we need to take it a step further than that. They're trying to exclude hip hop from the sphere, saying that we don't access this interruption, and we're trying to say that we need to include hip hop, because hip hop, as Emily says, hip hop is the key to this inclusion into the debate community. And we don't say that we don't access this spillover into the outside community, because Jerome speaks about how the urban debate leads are the political pipelines to the outside world. Henry Giroux, 06, he said, UDLs are critical for thriving and functioning democracy as debate is a way for youth to be advocates and social change makers to address unique challenges facing their generation. What is so important about the UDL program is that it is not merely interested in teaching debating skills to students. Instead, debating is viewed as a form of critical literacy that empowers students, especially underrepresented race ethnicities and females, not only with the high-powered academic skills, but also with the essential critical knowledge and beliefs necessary to convince them that they can become both effective advocates for democracy and leaders in a world where they must learn how to influence and govern. And the space of debate provides exactly what the public spirit still seeks to learn how to invest in ideas, engage in dialogue with others, and do so instead of contributing to both wider public discourse and more vibrant life.
It's okay. I got it.
Cool. So Henry Giroux speaks specifically about how the urban debate leads are that political pipelines to the outside arena, meaning that everything that happens in the debate space, the discourse, and all argumentative figures affect what happens, because this is currently the hip-hop generation, so everything that we're learning now is what's going to affect our future leaders. So all of us are we all be in the same generation, so we'll be becoming part of the economy in that same way. So let's say if hypothetically, if my partner was wild racist and he hated all of one ethnicity, when he goes out to the outside world, and let's say he was to become a political leader, while he's that political leader, everything will be rooting toward benefiting everybody except that race, because that racism he has. Meaning that everything that we do while our minds are still young and our minds still processing, accepting all these different types of information, different discourses, everything we do here is key to what affects the outside world. That speaks about how we access that spillover, how everything we do actually affects the outside world. So we argue that debate itself is just a starting point. It's a starting point to create any political change that we can possibly create. So, I love your guys' extract and everything, all that exclusion about women and stuff. I agree that women are excluded from space and everything, but then that's why our speech act is the way it is. That's why we speak about these things. That's why we speak about how we need to create a common space, not only for not only for different ethnicities and different religious stuff, but also for different genders. So you speak about how the power of the ballot, our ballot, it's to affirm the chance conceptualization of this debate space, meaning that women will no longer be that excluded and marginalized voice. Women become included part of the debate space, meaning that if you vote for the affirmative team and you change that conceptualization of this space, they become inclusive. They become included into this space, the same space they critique is now a form of masculinity. He was a judge, well, judges as males and females. females can change the debate space and change that conceptualization.
Ms. Douglas, my daughter is waiting.
3.
Yeah. Our personal power, argument, the power emphasis that Carlos Martinez speaks about, it speaks about our power as individuals may change. It speaks about like how we, not only for the males, but as a females too, being that Carlos Martinez is a female, she speaks about how we all have this power as individuals to create this change within the debate where we have that power to create that domestic change, change conceptualizations of things. And she speaks about how in order to have the most effective, oh, here, never mind. Yeah, in order to have the most effective movement, she highlights art, music, and spoken words to create that powerful statement. Across by the Carlos Martinez 10 evidence onto the flow. Picture a crowd of people, not picture a crowd of people holding colorful handmade signs, wearing powerful words and images on their t-shirts, and cleverly belting out songs to chance the difference between these two pictures. That the second picture reflects cohesive cultural elements, art, music, spoken word that are glue the whole racial justice movement building together. The difference is not just that in that moment, but in what it took to create that moment. The glue and creating these moments are crucial to shaping and reshaping the world. This is also on the solvency flow, because it speaks about how we use these moments to reshape and shape the world, meaning we access this form of spillover that the negative team speaks about. And this functions as a deterrent to their case, because in a world where they don't access art, music, and spoken word, that means that their movement will never be as strong as ours, because we access art, music, and spoken word. We access it through the hip hop narratives. And onto the Chenery Brinkley evidence that came before that commons stuff. Crossed by the Chenery Brinkley evidence onto the floor, they don't answer this evidence, and they don't speak about it throughout the entirety of their speech. It speaks about how we need these three forms of education to validate claims. We need that organic intellectualism, academic intellectualism, and personal experience. Personal experience would be that experience, like what makes you who you are, where you grow up from, your place of power, everything that affects you in your community. Meaning that, like, if you grew up in a hood, you'd be different from somebody who grew up in the suburbs with a tough life. So everybody's education would be different. You would know all the slang and all the jargon from your neighborhood, but people in different communities would speak a different way, they would think a certain way, and they would act differently because of things that they've been exposed to. Organic intellectuals are people who can speak about a topic without having a PhD, a doctorate, a master's, or a bachelor on a specific topic. Like how we can speak about hip hop, but we don't have that label of that. We don't have that government-given label of that knowledge about hip hop. And the academic intellectuals will be the people who are labeled with this knowledge. We need all three forms of these knowledge productions as a way to back each other's claims up. And the way we back each other's claims up, we access the most education. This also functions as a deterrent to their case because their claims are not validated. Yes, she read a poem. That poem was not made from her herself. I abstracted the beginning of the flow. It was made by Sonia Renee.